And without further ado, let's bring on Nate here. Nate, thank you again for being here. Appreciate it.
No problem. I think you gotta let me share my slides there and I'll be underway.
Perfect.
I appreciate Alex bring me on again. There's not many, and I said this when I was there live, there's not many real estate brokers that are understand self-directed IRAs, but also understand how powerful they are. And we appreciate you spreading the word, spreading the gospel to people because I was a real estate investor and I didn't even know you can use self-directed IRAs for real estate. And that's why I became so passionate about teaching it because I thought more real estate investors, real estate professionals just need to understand how it's used and how they can help people grow tax-free buckets of wealth, through real estate. And the event that he spoke about, and let me share it here. I want to just kind of highlight this event a little bit. Us as a company directed IRA, one of the things that makes us different from like a Charles Schwab or Fidelity is that we're not licensed to sell investments. Our clients choose their own investments. That's why we call it a self-directed IRA. We'll talk about that here in a second. But we do like to provide great education. We like to give people the tools through education to make good investment decisions. So this is our biggest event that we throw. We do it once a year. We bring a star-studded lineup of investment professionals, not just real estate professionals, but tax professionals, attorneys, hedge fund managers, people that have been in the business and have expertises in specific segments of what we call alternative investments. And I know for a fact, if you come to this event, your mind will be blown. Everybody that goes to these events comes up to me afterwards and says, God, I did not realize how much investment opportunities there are out there. And sometimes it's almost overload. It's almost like you hear so much good stuff you don't even know where to start. But this is an event that you're not going to come, nobody's going to sell you anything. It's merely 2 days of education and networking. And the networking is something that even our experienced investors come for, even if they are experts in their field, they still like to come to this event because this is where you can find private lenders who have self-directed IRAs. You can find strategic partners, capital partners. So if you are in the business of either real estate or just investing in general, there's a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of benefits to coming to this event. And again, like I said, it's only once a year. So it's going to be in Scottsdale, October 16th or 17th. It will be cooler by then. You don't want to do an event in August. I assure you that. So October 16th and 17th, it's beautiful in Scottsdale. We're going to be hosting it at the Hilton Scottsdale Resort and Villas. We have a variety of tickets. I always urge people to come live just because of the networking aspect and you get to shake hands and meet people, have dinner, have drinks. I mean, it's a great event for just having fun with other investors. But if you can't make it, we have virtual tickets as well. So if you scan that QR code, it'll take you right to the site. I have a personal promo code, Nate100. If you type that in at checkout, you'll get $100 off any ticket, even the virtuals. So I encourage everybody to at least take part in the virtual, but we'd love to have you live. Alex comes live all the time, and we always have a great time. So if you can't scan the QR code, just go to altassetsummit.com for more information. So again, star-studded lineup. You'll see a lot of people that you probably recognize on social media and YouTube. So I'll jump into the topic, and this is a fun one. That I'm glad Alex asked me to come on this because this is actually what I do with my retirement account. Like I said, I was in real estate right out of college. I was actually in the lending business. I still have my mortgage license today. I always like the numbers aspect of real estate. I like being on the money side of real estate. I like being the bank. And in 2012, I found out my retirement account could be the bank. And when I learned this concept of using retirement accounts to invest in appreciating or cash flowing assets like real estate or notes, is when my retirement plan started to shift. When I really started seeing growth in my retirement plan for the first time was when I learned that I had the opportunity to invest my retirement plan into the things that I was knowledgeable about and into assets that I understood better, which was real estate and notes. So I'm going to do a little short educational piece on how to use retirement plans as a bank, as a private capital source. And this goes both ways if you're a real estate investor. One way is if you have a retirement account, whether that's an old 401k, an old 403b, a rollover IRA, if you have a retirement account of any type, that retirement account can be self-directed and you can use it to loan secured by real estate. I'm going to talk about the advantages of doing that as a retirement asset plan. But as you understand that retirement accounts can invest this way, this also opens up the opportunity, if you're a real estate investor, to learn how to leverage other people's retirement accounts as a private capital source to yourself to buy more real estate. And this is exactly what Alex does. And if you can understand this, not only do you get a benefit by using other people's money to buy real estate, but if you structure win-win scenarios with your potential self-directed private lenders, you're also helping people retire by being the expert in using their money to invest in secure real estate property that give them probably better returns than they're getting in the stock market right now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how it works, what types of plans can be self-directed, and I'll take some questions at the end. Just a little background about me. Again, I was in real estate right out of college. I knew I wanted to be in real estate. I didn't know what that meant. But for the last 13 years, I've been an executive in the self-directed IRA space, primarily teaching investors how to use what we call self-directed retirement plans to invest in assets off of Wall Street. Assets we call Main Street assets, not Wall Street assets. And Main Street assets are more prevalent to everybody and really is more understood by most people because most of those alternative assets are real estate based. So I've been passionate about teaching this because this is what I do with my retirement account. We have 23,000 clients that do similar types of investment strategies. But the point of the topic today is really just to understand that your retirement plan can invest in almost anything on the planet. It's not limited to just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. But everything here is just for education purposes only. As a reminder, I'm not giving anybody tax, legal, or investment advice. You're free to make your own investment decisions. But I'm going to talk a little bit about retirement accounts and how they can be invested into real estate through self-direction. So if you look at the tax law is pretty clear when it comes to IRAs and retirement plans about what we can own in a retirement plan. There are actually no list of available investments in the IRS tax code. The IRS really doesn't care what we own in a retirement plan, as long as it's not a life insurance contract or a collectible. That's it. There's only two investment restrictions that are not allowed to be held inside of a retirement account: life insurance contracts and collectibles. Now, most people, when they think retirement account, they just think, well, I thought I can just buy stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. That's what most people think they can buy. But that's only because most of our retirement accounts are held with the big fish, right? Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo Advisors. They're a IRA or retirement custodian just like us. But what Fidelity and Charles Schwab also does is they're a licensed securities broker. They sell investments for commissions. So if you have a retirement account with Fidelity, they only allow you to buy what they make money on, which are the investments, what we call traditional investments. But you're not limited to just those investments. You're only limited to those investments when your retirement account is with them. When you have a retirement account with directed IRA, first, the IRA itself or the retirement account itself is the same retirement account at Fidelity. Just on our account agreement, when you open an account with us, it simply states, we'll hold anything the IRS allows, but you got to tell us what the investment is because we don't have investments to sell. We don't tell you what to invest in. We don't limit you to a box of investments. You tell us what you want your IRA or your retirement account to own. And what we specialize in is owning or holding or custodying alternative investments. So alternative investments are the things more people are more common with. I actually think real estate's more of a traditional investment than a stock. To me, if you ask me what's more traditional, a home or a stock, I would say a home, but they call it an alternative investment, probably because they don't want you to invest in those things. But alternative investments are pretty much anything outside of a publicly traded asset. They're a private asset. Alternative assets that we hold inside of our clients' retirement accounts include everything from real estate, 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental properties, small multifamily properties, land, developed land, undeveloped land, precious metals, mineral rights, even cryptocurrency can be owned. Direct ownership of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum. You don't have to buy an ETF through Fidelity. You can actually own Bitcoin in your IRA through an account set up here. But most of our clients like to invest in things that I would say are tangible to them and assets they can drive by, touch, and feel. So I would say out of the $3 billion of assets that we currently hold under management, probably 80% of that is some sort of real estate asset, right? It could be an active real estate investment or it can be a passive real estate investment. But real estate seems to be the thing most people gravitate towards because it's a tangible asset. You can drive by it, you can touch it, you can feel it. It's something that you has a parcel number, you can drive by it. Some people like to invest in their own community, but there's a lot of opportunities by having a self-directed IRA that allows you to invest in things off of Wall Street and things that you might understand better. Now, important to note, you can have as many IRAs as you want. You don't have to pick directed IRA or Fidelity. You can have an IRA at both custodians. I think that's actually the best way to have true diversification. So most of my clients do have an IRA at a broker dealer or a Fidelity or Charles Schwab, and it keeps some of their stocks and bonds. But if you want to invest in real estate, you have to have an account with a company that will hold real estate as the asset. And I'll talk about how that process works. So basically, we're the same thing. We do the same thing Fidelity does. We just don't sell investments. And specifically today, I'm going to talk about holding promissory notes as the investment inside of a retirement account. Now, why is it so important to talk about retirement accounts at all? Well, there's over $45 trillion in US retirement accounts. It's where most of Americans have their money saved, is in their retirement account. 401ks used to be the largest bucket of retirement. Now it's actually IRAs. So, with people job transitioning, you leave a company, that 401k turns into an IRA. We've got close to $20 trillion just in IRAs alone. But most people don't realize that they can invest this way. And that's, again, why I'm so passionate about teaching people about there's another way to retire with your retirement account, and it's not just by investing in Wall Street. Now, I'm going to talk about different types of accounts that can be, quote, self-directed. Different types of tax-exempt accounts that you can use to invest in real estate, and specifically to invest in notes secured by real estate. But when you hear this term, either from me or anybody online, realize that self-directed, when we say self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k, self-directed is not a type of IRA. The term self-directed is just a marketing term. It just signifies that you have to tell us what the investment is. You have to go find it. You have to negotiate the terms, and then we'll tell you how to get it in your retirement account. But self-directed itself is not a type of IRA. We have the same types of accounts here at directed IRA that you'll find at a traditional custodian like Fidelity. We just put self-directed in front of it. So if you think about the types of plans that you have, you may have some of these plans already sitting at another bank. Traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs can both be self-directed. Okay, traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs are your personal plans. Anybody can have them as long as you have earned income. Even minors can have a personal plan. We have a lot of children that have Roth IRAs. Their parents put them to work. I know Alex's kids were working the event, so he's taken that concept and running with it. There's no age restriction on a Roth IRA, guys, and it's probably one of the greatest wealth building tools on the planet. You just need income. Doesn't matter how old you are or young you are. But personal plans can be self-directed. Your traditional IRA, your rollover IRA, your Roth IRA, it can own real estate. It can own a note secured by real estate. You can use your traditional IRA or Roth IRA like a bank. You can do hard money lending right out of it. We'll talk about the benefits of doing that. But you can also self-direct employer plans. So anybody who's self-employed, you can also set up and self-direct a SEP IRA or your own solo 401k. These are great tools if you're looking to shovel more money in off of your income that can't be taxed. Those employer plans have very, very large contribution limits, larger than the personal plans, the traditional and the Roth. But if you're self-employed, you can also have a personal plan, by the way. In my mind, the more money you get in these accounts that Uncle Sam can't touch, the more money you have in retirement. So when you look at these plans, all of these plans, all six, the traditional, the Roth, the SEP, the solo, the health savings account, and the educational savings account, by definition, these are tax-exempt trusts. These accounts don't pay taxes. This is how we get Uncle Sam off of our back. And if we use the right accounts, that the ones that I love are the Roth IRA, the Roth Solo 401k, and I love the self-directed health savings accounts and the self-directed ESAs. Now, the reason I like those accounts over the other ones is if you're somebody that can take a small amount of money and make it larger, what size bucket do you want to pay the taxes on? Do you want to pay it on the small bucket or do you want to pay it on the large bucket? If you'd rather pay it on the small bucket, right, and make after tax contributions to these plans, after tax contributions means you've already paid your taxes to Uncle Sam. But when you invest the after tax plans, when you take the money out in retirement, you don't pay taxes when you take distributions. So in theory, let's say you have a $100,000 Roth IRA, you've essentially paid your taxes on that $100,000. Your Roth IRA is tax exempt, so any investment it buys, any investment that gains income to the Roth is not taxed. And then when you get to 59 and a half, you get to withdraw tax-free distributions from your Roth for the rest of your life. So it doesn't matter how big it is. It could be a $6 billion Roth IRA and Uncle Sam can't tax a dime of it. I think that that's really the true way to get to retirement, is to find a way to get taxes out of the picture. And the Roth IRA, the Roth Solo 401k, the self-directed HSA, and the self-directed ESAs, in my mind, are the best ways to do that. And by the way, yes, we have non-retirement plans that can also be self-directed. The two plans on the left, the personal plans and the employer plans, this is how you generate tax-free income in retirement. But you can also generate tax-free income today and use the money today to pay for health expenses and education expenses with a self-directed health savings account or a self-directed Coverdell education savings account. Now, these are set up for your kids or your grandkids. They can be invested, and the distributions from these accounts come out tax-free to pay for any of your child's education expenses from pre-K all the way through college. So things like tuition, books, computers, your home internet bill, right? All of these expenses that we're incurring today, you can pay them in a better way by paying them with tax-free dollars. So I'm just kind of touching on the tip of the iceberg here. We've got classes online that go over specifics, and I even have some classes online that go over each account specifically. So I just want to touch on the 6 types of accounts that we have here at Directed IRA. And all 6 of these accounts can be used to buy real estate, either separately or together. And all 6 of these accounts can also be a lending vehicle for you to lend money and make money on real estate passively and have all of the interest income from that loan come back to your plan free of tax. When you talk about private lending, and private lending is a great way to make money without doing a lot of work, I'll tell you that. But private lending outside of an IRA, there's no tax advantage to me lending somebody my money to buy real estate because I have to pay ordinary income tax on that money. But it's a huge pendulum shift for me to lend money out of, say, my Roth IRA or lend money out of my HSA because those plans don't pay taxes. So I get a huge tax benefit by lending out of my plans. I get no tax benefit for lending my money. So that's why I specifically like to lend out of my accounts. And I have a couple case studies that I've done on my own, on some of my own notes that I've done out of my Roth and my HSA. So why are notes and loans so attractive as an alternative asset? Well, here's some of the things I like about just owning notes inside of a retirement plan. One for me is I'm a busy guy. I travel, I speak, I manage a team of 6 on the IRA specialist team here. I've got a lot going on in my life. I don't have time to go door knock or find property or negotiate terms, but I know enough people that are doing that as a career and are much better at doing it than I ever was. So I like to invest in real estate passively. I don't deal with toilets or tenants. When my IRA owns a note, okay, my IRA is secured by the property, but I don't own the property. Okay. My IRA is the bank. Okay. My IRA holds the mortgage. My IRA holds the deed of trust. Okay. I'm secured by the property, but I don't have to deal with the property. The only thing I have to deal with is the borrower. I just need to make sure the borrower is making on-time interest payments to my account. But if something happens to the borrower, I'm still secured by the property, so I get to sleep at night. And here's the cool thing about structuring these loans out of your retirement plan, because it's self-directed and because you're dictating the terms, you get to negotiate the terms between the borrower and what they're going to pay back to your IRA. And that includes everything from interest, how long the loan is out for, and I'll talk a little about the process here. But ultimately, your plan owns a promissory note, right? If I'm going to loan money out of my Roth IRA to Alex, here's basically how that conversation starts. Alex may have me as his list of potential private lenders with my IRA. He may send me a deal and say, "Hey, I've got this deal. Here's the story with it. It's a divorce or something like that. I'm getting it below market value. I think we can fix it up." And I'll take a look at that property and decide if I want my IRA to make a loan to Alex, right? I'm doing the due diligence. And then if I like the deal, me and Alex will start to negotiate terms. And the terms of the loan are going to be listed in the promissory note, right? Either his attorney can draft it or my attorney can draft it. But the promissory note lists everything from the loan amount. The lender is going to be my IRA, which I'll show you how that works here in a second. But there's going to be an interest rate. There can be, it can be interest only payments. It can be I can dictate the terms. It can be a 6 to 18 month loan. It can be a 5 year loan. The point is, I get to make the decisions with Alex as to what best fits my IRA. So when I make a loan to a real estate investor or a person flipping a property, I know exactly what my IRA stands to get because it's listed in the promissory note. I know I'm getting 10% interest payments monthly between the first and the fifth. So I don't have to turn on CNBC to check what my stocks are worth. I know exactly what my retirement is worth. I know exactly what it's going to be at the end of the month. And I know exactly where the money is deployed because we closed at a title company. I saw the property. So for me, I like investing that way because I understand it more, but it's also very predictable. But it also just gives you a great diversification tool. If you think about the stock market, you got to buy low and sell high. If I invest in a note, I don't have to buy low and sell high. I'm getting interest payments. I'm going up regardless. Now there's some cautions to, whether or not the house goes into foreclosure, but foreclosure is not a scary thing for me as a lender. If I'm loaning on the right property, I don't care that I get the house. I don't want the house, but it's also collateralized. There's no collateral when you buy stock. If you buy stock and it goes to zero, you're left with nothing. If I invest in a note with a real estate investor and they happen to die or get sick, well, I have the house as collateral. So I at least have that, but I just want the interest payments. That's all I'm looking for. I want to deploy money to a savvy and experienced real estate investor, help them buy a house, help them improve their local community. And then when they're done and they pay me back through the refinance or they sell the house, then I fund another deal on their next one. So I like the way that it diversifies me in my overall retirement, but I also like the cash flow as well. So notes give you a great cash flow opportunity. And again, the cash flow is completely tax exempt. It's tax free. The IRS can't tax your IRA. So it's a great way to build wealth without doing a whole lot of work. And again, like I said, the thing that I love about it, it's predictable. I know exactly what I'm going to get. I don't have to guess. And again, I'm helping a local real estate investor buy and flip a home, which again, I know the social implications of that, and I like investing that way. That's just me. So I'll talk a little about how the process works, but I want to talk about just some rules real quick so you kind of understand the game plan or perhaps what the IRA looks for us to do with our retirement account, and more importantly, what they don't want us to do with our retirement plans. If you think about your relationship with your retirement plan, you're the fiduciary to your retirement plan. Your 401k, your IRA, your HSA, your ESA, the money in that is not yours. It's actually owned by the plan. Remember, your plan is a trust. You're the fiduciary to the trust. Your job to your IRA is to put contributions in it so it can invest, pick investments, whether it's stocks or real estate or notes. That's your job as the fiduciary. And then you get your benefits from the distributions your IRA gives you when you decide to take distributions. And hopefully you do it with an account that you don't pay taxes on the distributions. But you got to remember, you and your IRA are two separate beings. Okay. You have a relationship to your IRA to make it grow. And the IRS says, we won't tax this account. Okay. As long as you invest and you keep all the money in the account until you decide to take a distribution. So when you're the fiduciary of the plan, you're the quarterback to the plan, right? You call the plays. But what you're not allowed to do is you're not allowed to tell your IRA to make a loan to you, right? This is where the IRA rules are important. And these are the same rules even at Fidelity. They just never have to tell this to you because they don't let you invest this way to begin with. But when your IRA makes an investment, The IRS does not want your IRA to transact with you because you're the fiduciary. You're supposed to act in the best interest of the plan, not the best interest of yourself. You get your benefit from the distributions. So while you're making investment decisions for your plan, the plan can only invest or only loan to what we call non-disqualified people. Okay. Non-disqualified people are everybody outside of this list. So, and I'll simplify this list for you guys, but this is really what the IRS doesn't want us to do. They don't care what we own in our IRA, but they do care who's transacting with the IRA, who's the person on the other end of the investment that's receiving this money out of the IRA. There's certain people that cannot receive money out of the IRA through an investment. Okay. They can only receive it through a distribution. So I can't tell my IRA to make a loan to me, the IRA owner. My IRA can't loan to my spouse. It can't loan to my parents or my grandparents. It can't loan to my kids or my grandkids or their spouses and any companies those family members own or control. So the disqualified people, the people my IRA cannot transact with are me, spouse, parents, grandparents, kids, grandkids, and their spouses, and any companies, LLCs those same people own. Now, why does the IRS pick on those family members, but they don't pick on brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and family to the side? Well, if you think of what happens to an IRA turns into an inherited IRA upon the owner's passing. So when I die, my IRA goes to my beneficiaries. And 99% of the time, the beneficiaries of someone's IRA is their spouse or their kids. So when I die, my wife gets my IRA, or my kids will get my IRA as an inherited IRA. So the IRS views those people, the ones that are in the line of inheritance, they're also fiduciaries to the plan because they stand to inherit the plan. So if you're thinking about whether, regardless of what side you're on, whether you're going to use an IRA to make a loan or you're going to borrow money from somebody else's IRA, remember the people that you cannot loan to or borrow from: spouses, parents, grandparents, kids, and grandkids. Now, brothers and sisters, I've seen a lot of people do loans with real estate investors borrow money from their brother's IRA or borrow money from their sister's IRA. That's completely fine. Family to the side are not disqualified according to the IRS code, but those specific family members that I mentioned are. Okay. And those disqualified people, they just cannot transact with the IRA in any way. You can't sell things to your IRA. You can't buy things from your IRA, and you cannot exchange money to and from your IRA through a loan, only through a distribution. So got that out of the way. Now let's talk about how do you take a retirement account and invest it in a private loan? How do you own a promissory note inside of your retirement account? Well, if you think about, let's say most people are familiar with buying stock, right? If you log into Charles Schwab through your retirement account and you tell Charles Schwab to buy stock, what really happens in the background that you don't see? Well, first you log in and you direct your custodian, Charles Schwab, to buy Walmart stock. Right? You tell them how much, you tell them when, and you push the button. Now, what Charles Schwab does is they buy it on Wall Street, but they do actually hold an asset inside your retirement account. They hold proof of the investment, and that investment's a stock certificate. Okay. The stock certificate would read, if you ever saw it, the stock certificate shows ownership as Charles Schwab for the benefit of Nate Hare Roth IRA. That's the owner. That's the name of the trust. When we go out and buy real estate or we do a loan to a real estate investor through a retirement account, the only thing that's different is we just hold a different document. We hold different proof of the investment ownership. We don't hold stocks, we hold deeds. We don't hold mutual funds, we hold notes. So ultimately, if you want to be a lender out of your retirement account is going to own the note. The note is the asset. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about this, but there's 3 steps to get to that point. One is if you want to be a private lender with your self-directed IRA, you just got to open a self-directed IRA. It takes 5 minutes online. You can go to our website. I've got a special promo at the end with the QR code if you want to wait for that. But it literally takes 5 minutes online. You fill out the application, whether it's a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, or all the other accounts I mentioned. First step is open the account. It's usually open by the next day. You'll get a welcome packet in the mail or in your email. It'll have all your account information, and very important at the bottom, it'll have your vesting. We give you the name of your IRA because we know that when you're out wheeling and dealing, you're going to need this name to put on your contracts or your promissory notes. So if you're going to be a lender, the lender on the note that your IRA owns has to show the name of your IRA. So on any note owned by my Roth IRA, my name is not on there as an individual. The lender on the note is Directed Trust Company for the benefit of Nate Hare Roth IRA, or Directed Trust Company for the benefit of Nate Hare HSA. You can even have multiple accounts on one loan. I'll show you why I like to do that and keep more buckets moving. But remember that vesting, because that vesting is important. That's the name of your IRA that's going to go on any contract you intend to be owned by your IRA. So once you get the account open, next you fund the account. There's three ways you can fund a self-directed IRA. One, you can just make a contribution to the IRA here, just like you make a contribution to your normal custodians like Charles Schwab or Fidelity. You can link your account to Plaid and just have it come right out of your checking account. That's one way to fund your account. The most common way that we see clients fund their account is just by IRA to IRA transfer. So let's say you got a Roth IRA at Fidelity, you want to move some of that money to a Roth IRA here. You open a Roth IRA, you fill out what's called our transfer form, and you just tell us how much money you want us to tell Charles Schwab to move. You fill out that transfer form, you put $50,000. We send the transfer form to Charles Schwab. They wire the money within 3 to 5 business days. IRA to IRA transfer is probably the most common way to move money because it's not reported to the IRS. The IRS does not care how many times you transfer between IRAs. So you can transfer back and forth between an IRA here and an IRA there as many times as you want, and it's not even reported to the IRS. Now, rollovers are a little bit different. Rollovers are reported to the IRS, but rollovers are needed when you're, let's say, you've had a 401k at a job that you worked at, and that 401k needs to be moved into an IRA. Because those two accounts are basically different, they're still retirement accounts, but they're different in the tax law. A 401k has to be rolled into an IRA. You can't transfer a 401k to an IRA because they're not the same account. So rollovers are another common way we see people fund an IRA, and it's usually because they have an old 401k at a job that they worked at and it's just sitting there and they got to move it somewhere. So rollovers are reported, but usually when you're rolling a 401k to an IRA, you're going to get a 1099 from the custodian that sends the money, and then when it rolls here to us, we show that it went back into a retirement account. So we send an offsetting form to the IRS called a 5498. The 1099 and the 5498 offset each other. So even though I'm saying they're reported to the IRS, if you're doing what's called a direct rollover, you're not taxed on direct rollovers. So it's not a taxable event to transfer or roll money over as long as you do the right type of rollover. But those are the three types of ways you can fund an IRA through contribution, transfer, or rollover. So once the account is funded, once you have money in the account to deploy, how do you get us to deploy it? Anytime you're going to have us send an investment or us purchase an investment, we're going to need two documents from you. We're going to need you as the client to fill out what's called our direction of investment form. It's a form you can get in your client portal. You can also get them online. You can just email our investments team. They'll send the form to you. But the form is the same thing as pushing a button at Fidelity. But because we don't have investments to sell you, we just have you fill out a form. This form just tells us what you're investing in, how much you're investing. It's a real simple fill in the blank form. We've got a form if you're buying real estate. We have a form if you're doing a loan. We have another form if you're doing cryptocurrency. So we have specific forms for specific investments. But you filling out that form is giving us as the custodian the authority to make the investment on your IRA's behalf. Now, with that form, we also need a copy of the agreement. What is it that we're buying? We need to see it. We need to see ownership. And what we're looking for on the document is to see that Directed Trust Company for the benefit of your name IRA is properly listed on the document. So let's say you're buying real estate, okay? If you're negotiating terms with a seller and you want your IRA to be the owner of the real estate, you're buying a rental property, but you want it owned in your IRA so you don't have to pay taxes, you'd fill out a direction investment form for real estate And the agreement we need to see is the purchase contract. On the purchase contract, the buyer will read directed trust company for the benefit of your name IRA. You send the contract to us, we sign as the buyer, and then we send the money to the title company. Okay, we exchange your asset of cash for an asset of real estate. And then the title company will send us the deed and we'll hold the deed as evidence of your investment. Now, if you're doing a note, if you're doing a loan to a real estate investor, that's even easier. We just need a direction of investment form for a note, and then we need to see the promissory note. Now, one thing we don't do, we don't draft the promissory note. This is something that you do between you and the borrower. You guys decide the terms, and you guys give us the evidence of the terms, but we don't provide we don't prepare promissory notes for you. But all we're really looking for in the note is to make sure that directed trust company for the benefit of your name is properly listed as the lender. So we will send the money that needs to be sent to the borrower right from the IRA. And this way it's considered an investment. We're exchanging your IRA's asset of cash for an asset of a note. What some people think we do is we give them the money to go loan to somebody. We never give you the money because that's a distribution. We always have to send it to the third party. But in order for us to deploy money on investment, we just need that direction investment form and a copy of the note and wiring instructions so we know where we're sending it. And that's it. So as fast as you can prepare those documents and get it to us, we can deploy those funds within 48 hours of us receiving those forms. Now, if you're a real estate investor looking to raise private capital, this is an advantage to you when you're out buying property. If you have people in your life that you've already talked to about this, and you have people that you know, and you can meet a lot of them at the Alternative Asset Summit, by the way. If you have people that already have self-directed IRAs set up and they have capital ready to deploy, you can buy property by the end of the week. Okay, you don't have to deal with a bank, you don't have to go through an underwriter, you don't have to deal with a hard money lender. You don't have to deal with any of that provided you have somebody with a self-directed IRA that wants to do a private loan to you. Or if you want to do a private loan, that's how fast you can deploy your money provided we have those two documents. But that's it. Open account, fund account, and tell us what the investment is by giving us the direction of investment form and giving us the promissory note so we can hold that as the investment. So let's talk about kind of how this works.
Nate,
Sorry, that's something.
no, I don't mean to cut you off. We have a question from Carlos that seems to be relevant to what you just mentioned. Do you want to take it
Okay.
now or should we save it for later?
Yeah, we can take it now.
So Carlos is asking, when investing in alternative assets like crypto or metals, who holds the asset? And then he mentions, can I buy and sell those assets just like an ETF or stock?
So yes, you can buy and sell those assets. You just have to give us the forms that we need to buy it and sell it. So you're still working through us as the custodian. And for most of the assets, we hold the assets. So like your notes, your deeds, we actually hold that. We're a licensed custodian to hold that. On your cryptocurrency, it's a little different because you work through an exchange. So we have a relationship with Gemini. Gemini will actually open an account through us in the name of your retirement plan. So you still open an account, no different than this. You still fund it, and then you fill out a direction of investment form for crypto, and we actually send the money to Gemini, or you can choose another uh, platform if you want, but Gemini is the easiest one that we work with. So we send the money to Gemini, but the account is in the name of your retirement plan. So you actually have access to trade. You can orchestrate the buys and the sales. We don't hand you the money to go buy it. It's sent right to Gemini. And then when you sell it, if you want to move it back, Gemini just sends it back to your IRA. But in that sense, in that instance, Gemini is really holding it, or you can say the blockchain's holding it. Precious metals is a unique one because precious metals, because of the size and the bulk of them, you actually work through a third-party storage facility. Most custodians in the industry use Delaware Depository. So the metals are actually held at Delaware Depository, but we hold all the evidence that your IRA owns them. What you're not allowed to do is you can't store anything at your house. There was actually a tax court case not too long ago where clients were buying metals and storing them at their house, and the IRS did not like that when they heard that. So you're never storing anything. We store most of the investments outside of crypto and precious metals. Cool. Then there another question?
No, you answered it because he mentioned, can I, would I take possession of the metals? And you just mentioned that right now.
Yeah, you never want to take possession of your IRA assets because as soon as you take what they call constructive receipt, as soon as you have it in your hands, they consider that a distribution. So you don't want it considered a distribution because you want the assets to grow tax free. As soon as it comes out of your account to you, now you own it as a taxpayer. So I always say keep it in your IRA and just live tax free off the distributions of the income. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about private money lending and how it kind of works. So really what you're doing is you're setting up an account, an IRA, no different than an IRA elsewhere. You're just going to own a note instead of a stock. Okay. In that process, you're going to tell us if you're the lender, you're going to find the borrower. Now, some people say, well, where do I find borrowers? I would probably say, well, get out and network. If you're in Alex's area, go to his events. I mean, there's great networking at his meetups, but real estate meetups are a great place to meet people. The Alt Asset Summit is a great place to meet people. You definitely don't want to be cautious of going online and lending people online. I had somebody hit me up on LinkedIn today and asked me if I wanted to loan them money. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. So you want to get out and meet people because this is a relationship business. Private money lending is it's all about relationships, and you'll learn that by hanging around us. It's all about kind of who you know. I typically loan to people that I know and I know have good track records. It's more about the person than the property to me. Now, I like being secured by the property, but for me, it's more about who am I loaning to? Do I trust this person enough to pay me back? If I happen to loan on their bad deal, do they have enough deals going that they can still pay me back? That's happened once before. But I like to loan to people that are buying investment property. And this is the cool thing about private money. You can dictate who and where you loan to. But I'll tell you who I like loaning to, real estate flippers, and usually in lender-friendly states. I'll just say that because I'm the lender. Why would I want to loan anywhere else? But I like to lend in lender-friendly states where I have a deed of trust, sometimes non-judicial states. But again, some people like to loan to people in their area, and that's fine. I love that concept as well. But I like to loan to flippers, and this is just why I like to loan to flippers is because I'm charging private money rates, right? You've got different rates from different lenders. You've got your conventional banks that'll give you the best rates, but they're also going to give you the hardest time, right? They're going to give you 30 to 45-day closings. They're going to ask you for 30% down if you're buying an investment property. They're going to ask you for your tax returns, your W-2s, your blood of your firstborn. They're going to ask for all that before they even think about giving you money. Now, if you're a real estate investor and you need money quicker, right, you can go the hard money lending route. Hard money lenders are great, but hard money lenders aren't cheap, right? They're going to charge the top rate, okay, 14 to 18% sometimes. Right in the middle, between about 8 and 12% is where all the private money lenders sit, okay? So I know I can get anywhere from 8 to 12%, but I know that my borrower does not want to be married to a loan at 10 or 12% forever, but they do need my money to buy the property and close by the end of the week, right? I give an advantage to the borrower that beats all the other lenders because I'm quick, right? And I don't really underwrite. I'm going to underwrite them. I'm going to make sure that I'm comfortable loaning to them, but I don't have an underwriter. I am the underwriter, right? So I decide who and what I loan on. And as soon as we have the promissory note drafted, my directed IRA can deploy those funds in 48 hours. But I know my borrower just needs my money short term, which is fine for me. So I usually this is just me. I do the six to 18 month loans, investment property only. I do not loan on somebody's owner occupied property. I don't want to deal with Dodd-Frank laws. I don't want to have to kick somebody out of the house that they have their kids in. If I'm going to loan, I'm going to loan on investment property. And if I have to take that property back in foreclosure, I can just turn it back and rent it to the renters or rent it to somebody. But I like loaning short term because it also gives me the opportunity to compound my interest. See, if you think about how, let's say, a Roth IRA works, right? A Roth IRA, you're not taxed on any of the gains. So if I'm making 10 to 12% double digit returns secured by real estate off the sweat equity of somebody else, I also like the opportunity to compound that interest, right? I pay no taxes on the interest payments the borrower puts into my IRA. And I know they only want it short term. So it's fine for me and fine for them that we do something like 6 to 18 months or maybe 2 years. And then they sell the property and I get paid through back my principal through the sale. or they just hold the property as a rental and then just refinance back to the conventional bank to get a better rate. And I get my money back. And then I have money in my IRA that I can redeploy. But now I can deploy my interest that I made on top of it. So now I get to compound interest tax free. And that's a wonderful thing inside of an account that's never taxed, is the ability to compound interest. Now, when I'm looking at my borrowers, again, I'm looking at track record, I'm looking at experience. And the other thing that I really like about lending is that I'm also helping a local real estate investor put people to work. I know that my IRA's investment is not just making money, which I like, but it's not invested in some nameless, faceless mutual fund that I have no emotional attachment to. I'm loaning to a real estate investor or a flipper, right? They're putting contractors to work, who are putting subcontractors to work, right? They've got all these people working on this house. It's probably an eyesore, or it's a house that just needs to be updated. And then by the time they're all done with it, the house looks spectacular. The white picket fence is put up, and then they put a family in that home. And that was all done with my money out of my retirement account. So I get to see the social implication of my retirement investments while at the same time compounding my interest and helping a local real estate investor buy more real estate. So I like the ability to do that. So basically what happens is we're going to hold the promissory note. We're going to deploy the money to the title company or the attorney's office, wherever you're holding the closing. And then based on the terms of that agreement, the borrower is just going to make payments back to directed IRA. They'll just make a payment out each month or send an ACH, directed trust company, for the benefit of Nate Hare's Roth IRA. I never even touch the money. It just comes into my account from the borrower, and that's considered income. Very important. A lot of people get income confused with contribution. My Roth IRA, I can only put in out of my pocket $7,000 a year, but my investments can make as much as it wants. There's no limit on profit. There's only limit on what I put in as a contribution. So all the interest payments coming into the account from the borrower, that's income. And I can make as much income as I want. So that comes in and it just goes right. You track the payments online. You just make sure. Now, one thing is, if the borrower doesn't pay, you do have to self-direct and you have to tell the borrower to pay. We don't have a servicing company here. Now we do have a lot of note investors that have a lot of notes out there and they hire a servicing company to service the notes. But all we're going to do is we're just going to act as the custodian. We're going to hold the notes and we're going to collect the income when it comes in. Now you can redeploy the income when it comes into the account. You can redeploy that interest income into another loan, or if it's sitting there uninvested, you can either move it into crypto, or you could just move it back to Charles Schwab if you want. But that's something that all the investors like to ask is, well, what do I do with the interest payments as they're building up? Whatever you want, right? You can redeploy it in another investment. You can move it back to Charles Schwab until you get some more money or get the note paid off, whatever you like. But you can keep it in an IRA and keep it growing tax free. Okay? So I do want to say, think about the account type you use. Now, I've talked a lot about Roth IRAs, and this is why I like the Roth IRA, and I like the HSA and the ESA as well. So with the Roth IRA, here's my concept of retirement is I don't want to just buy a bunch of stock that may go up, it may go down, but I just see so many people that have huge stock portfolios, and even in retirement, they have more money one day and they have less money the next, like considerably less the next. It's just this roller coaster of emotions, even through retirement. And they have to basically plan their distributions on when their account's up, and they have to scrimp and save when their account's down. I just never really liked that feeling. For me, I want to get to a point to where I have a large Roth IRA, okay? And my Roth IRA is just deployed in income producing assets that I don't have to ride this roller coaster on. Notes is one of those investments that I don't ride this roller coaster because, again, it's predictable. If I have, let's say, a $2 million Roth IRA, and it's not hard to get there, by the way, when you start self-directing, but if you have just like a $2 million Roth IRA and you can keep that money deployed in notes getting 12%, that's $20,000 a month in tax-free income that you can live on in retirement, while your Roth IRA just continues to grow. So your Roth IRA continues to grow. You're not touching the principal of the Roth. You're just living off the interest payments monthly. And to me, that just sounds like a safer retirement than riding the roller coaster of the stock market because your 401k can turn into a 201k if you have if we hit some bad inflationary periods or whatever the case may be. 2007, 2008, we all remember that, right? People lost half the value of their retirement account by investing everything in the stock market. To this day, I've never lost money on a note. I just get the interest payments. And again, my notes are secured by real estate. But when I'm taking the distributions in retirement, I also don't want to pay taxes on the distributions. That's why I think it's so advantageous to invest through a self-directed Roth IRA because Roth IRAs, once you have a Roth for 5 years and you're above the age of 59 and a half, you never have to pay taxes again. All your distributions out of your Roth are tax-free for the rest of your life. So here's why I like investing through a self-directed Roth or a self-directed HSA. Okay, here's a deal that I did a little while back. I kind of rounded the numbers just to make it easy. But this is very typical of the notes that I like to do. Okay. Borrower came to me, found this property that was abandoned in his neighborhood for about 2 years. He sent me a picture of the house. I remember the grass was so like the grass was as tall as the roof. I mean, that's how bad this property was. There was no HOA, so nobody was saying everybody, all the people were just saying, telling their kids not to play in that yard. You know what I mean? Nobody knows who owns it. It was that house. Well, he ended up finding the owner, and the owner didn't know that they even owned it. It was owned by their grandfather who left it to them in their will, and they hadn't even found him to let him know that he actually owned this house now. And he lived in West Virginia. This house was in Houston. So, long story short, motivated seller. The kid needed money. The real estate investor found him and basically struck up a deal where the kid would take $75,000 and sell it right out from under him. But the ARV on the property was 215. And there was some minor repairs that needed to be done. I mean, obviously the lawn and the yard had to be taken care of. There were some cracks in the sidewalk and the concrete. Not much though, and is actually in a good area. So the real estate investor needed $75,000 to buy it and $25,000 to rehab it. Now his conventional bank said no. When they looked at the property, they said no, it's not in the condition for any house that we would lend on. And the hard money lender said, yeah, we can do it, but it's going to take us a couple weeks. The reason he didn't want to take a couple weeks is he didn't want this kid to change his mind. So he wanted to close by the end of the week. So he came to me, showed me the property. I sent the comps to a friend of mine that lived out there. Again, I'm doing my due diligence as the borrower. So I had one of my friends look at the comps and say, "Hey, do these comps look sufficient?" And he said, "Yeah, actually, these comps are pretty conservative." So for me as a lender, loaning $100,000 on a property that's worth 215, a no-brainer. I can sleep a night. I can sleep at night all day on that. So once I agreed to make the loan, then we discussed the terms, and these were the terms that we had in the note. I was going to loan him a loan for 75,000 or $100,000. $25,000 would be held in escrow back for the repairs. It was going to be an 18-month loan, 2 points up front that he paid at closing, and 12% annually, and that would be paid off. He thought in a year. So I gave him 18 months with an optional extension. That way, I usually give optional extensions if my borrower wants to keep it and they're paying on time. Sometimes I don't mind having it deployed for a little bit longer, especially if I don't have another loan to deploy. So this was a good deal for me. Again, my money's secured by the real estate. I'm getting double-digit returns, right? And there's a lot of equity in the property. So I open my Roth IRA or I fund my Roth IRA, but I also use my self-directed HSA in this deal as well. So I'll skip to that here. Okay. So when we draft the promissory note, I actually can put two accounts on the note. It's still one loan. It just has two lenders. It's a fractionalized note. So on the note, the lenders read directed trust company for the benefit of Hare Roth IRA as to the undivided interest of 75%. Of that 100 grand, 75 grand came from my Roth. And then 25 grand came from my self-directed HSA. So also on the note was directed trust company for the benefit of Hare's HSA. Now, the reason I like to use both of those accounts is those accounts fit two different needs in my life. My Roth IRA is tax-free forever once I hit 59 and a half. But my HSA is tax-free today. For any qualified medical expense that I want to take out of my HSA profits, I can take part of the interest payments, 25% of the interest payments from the borrower. I can take those out as a tax-free distribution to buy glasses, prescriptions, pay copays, get massages, anything medical related. And it's not medical related for you, it's medical related for you, spouse, and your dependents. So those two accounts are both tax-free, but I get to use them at different times. So why would I not want to partner them together so that my money is not only generating tax-free income for later, it's generating tax-free income for today, right? So I actually use my self-directed HSA to help me pay for things that I incur today, way before retirement. So once we have the promissory note drafted, I send that to directed IRA. I fill out the direction investment form for a note. I give them wiring instructions. We close at a title company, and then the title company sends back copies of all the agreements, it's including the deed of trust. So my IRAs and my Roth and my HSA hold as ownership of the investment, the promissory note, and the deed of trust. Okay. Those are my investments. All the interest payments are tax free for the rest of my life. Okay. And key points to remember. Okay. Once you're paid back, once the borrower sells the property or refinances, you can redeploy it into another investment. You can buy a different investment. You can move it back to Fidelity. But the things you can't do, remember, you can't loan money to yourself. Okay, you can only loan money to non-disqualified people. You can only loan money to people that are not you, spouse, parents, or kids. Okay, but the cool thing is, you're flexible to set your own loan terms. You can dictate the interest rates you want. And of course, you're going to want to have win-win scenarios. You don't want to have, if you're a lender, you don't want to charge your borrower too high of an interest rate that they can't perform on the deal. There's always a sweet spot for a good deal that everybody wins when you're dealing with a private money loan to a real estate investor. Okay, so there's other ways, and I'll just end on this one real quick. And this is more creative, but this is one I just like to share because if you're a wheeler and dealer, if you're a real estate investor, realize you do not have to always look at every deal the same. Sometimes different investments call for different terms. I'll just say that. So there's different creative things that you can do with a private money loan. Now, I just showed you an example of a simple interest loan. I've also done shared equity loans. I've seen people do convertible notes. They loan to companies, and those notes can convert to shares of the companies. There's a lot of creativity you can get with, and that's really why I love this area of self-direction because I see some of the most creative real estate investors do some of the coolest things with their retirement account and other buckets of money. But this is a deal that I did to a borrower out of Fort Worth, and I'll tell you why we structured it this way. Okay, this investor had borrowed our money on some, typical 3 bedroom, 2 bath flips, in Dallas and in Houston. And he was used to paying, 10, 12%. And we were fine with that. It was a win-win scenario for many years. Now he had this opportunity to buy this mobile home. Okay. Now the value in this property was not the mobile home. Okay. The mobile home was attached to the land, but it was really the land where this property sat, where the investor thought, you know what, in 5 years, I know developers are going to want this piece of land. You could just see where Fort Worth was growing and it was headed right for this area. So he ended up finding the owner and struck up a pretty good deal to buy this mobile home, but it was really the land that the investor wanted. Now, because it was kind of a long-term play, this wasn't his typical flip. He wanted to hold it for at least 5 years to get that appreciation or to make it more attractive to developers. So when we ran the numbers or when he came to us, we just thought he was going to want the same deal, 2 points up front, 10%. When he went back to the drawing board, he realized, well, this isn't a property that he's going to flip, and it's not a property that rents very easily based on where it was located. So if he had to pay 12% or 10% to the lender, he would be out of his pocket monthly because he couldn't get enough rental income on the property to pay the mortgage. Okay. He also couldn't get a mortgage to most banks because banks typically do not like loaning on mobile homes. So he was really looking for a private lender to do this deal. So long story short, he almost walked from the deal. He almost just could not find the financing to make it work. But we decided, you know what? We like where you're going with this. We like it as a long-term play. And even as a lender, you can have a vested interest in the long-term play by doing what's called a shared equity note. And here's how we kind of backed into this arrangement. We said, okay, well, what do you think you could pay that would break you even, right? What can we charge as a lender that would allow you to get enough rental income on this property based on where it's located that you're not in the red, that basically you're in it for nothing? And he said, I think I can get enough rental income and pay 6% and be in the green or be right at, what the expenses are. So we said, great. So let's structure this a little different. We won't structure it as a simple interest loan. We'll drop our interest rate down to 6, and we won't charge you any points up front. because it doesn't make sense to charge you points up front if we're going to both be in this long term. And as a trade-off, he decided that he would give us 50% of the equity when he sold the property. So it's just called a shared equity note. There's just a clause in the note that says lender gets X amount of the net proceeds of the sale. Now, this does not put us in control of the property, by the way. We are still the lender. We don't tell the borrower when they sell the property. The owner, the borrower is the owner. He still just dictates all that. So you don't want to do these types of agreements on people that you don't know if you're going to be in business with them for 5 years. But this gentleman had done a lot of deals and he was a good friend of ours. So basically what we did is we structured a loan for $50,000 at a 6% interest rate, no origination points. And there was a clause in the note that said the borrower would give the lender 50% of the equity when he sold. Now you can make the percentage whatever you want, okay? But he was nice enough to do 50%. Now some people might be balking and going, well, oh my God, why would he give up 50% of the equity? Well, think about it in these terms. How much money did he use of his own to buy the property? Zero. How much money did he have to pay to the mortgage out of his pocket for 7 years? Zero. He was literally in this investment with no skin in the game. He used all of our money to buy it, and he used rental income to make the mortgage payment. And when he sold the property, when he sold it 7 years later, we split net profits of $80,000. So $40,000 went to him and $40,000 went to us. It was a group of us lenders. So if you walked into a deal and spent no money and got 40 grand, how many properties would you buy with that structure? You'd buy all of them like that. And the point is, I'm not trying to say that this is the way that you do all of, but this was a deal that wasn't a deal to begin with on the original terms. And we found a way to be creative. And this is what you can do with a self-directed IRA is find win-win scenarios with your borrowers. And if you are the borrower, realize you can have more tools in your tool belts to offer your potential lenders because every lender is going to be from different stages of life. If you're talking to a potential lender with a retirement account that's much older, you got to realize that person wants different things with their retirement investment. They want safety, security, and they're not looking for home run deals. They just want safe, secure. So you might get a really good interest rate from somebody in retirement because they're just more concerned with preserving their principal and tell them how my money is safe with you. But if you're dealing with someone younger or maybe somebody that is a business partner of yours, well, maybe they want a piece of the deal. But you, as the real estate professional, have the opportunity to give more options to your lenders. And if you have more options for your lenders, you'll have more people that want to work with you. So that was just an example of that, just so you guys can see that you can get creative with these types of investments. So if you guys want to learn more and network with other individuals that are doing these types of investments, doing other investments like cryptocurrency, mineral rights, multifamily, commercial syndications, we're going to have this event. I think all you guys should come. Alex is going to be there. I'm going to be there. It's a great time. You're going to learn a whole lot more about investing and investing with a retirement account at the Alt Asset Summit. So remember to scan that QR code or go to altassetsummit.com and use my promo code Nate100 if you want to save $100 off the top. And if you need to open an account, we also have a promo for anybody that comes through Alex's educational events is Peak 100. If you use that promo, you also get $100 off any self-directed IRA you set up. So if you're interested in setting up a self-directed IRA and doing some private lending, or if you have a potential lender that you need to send to us that you're going to be the borrower for, just use that code Peak 100 and you get $100 off any account that you set up. And I've got a team of IRA specialists that can help you. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you right to the landing page where you can book a call with anybody on my team. So I hope that was helpful to everybody out there. And if we got questions, I can take some questions, Alex.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. No, very helpful. And and with my experience, we can go on for hours and days talking about this. Every time you and I connect, I learn something new. I know we're a little bit over on time, so I appreciate those that are still on. We do appreciate that. This way we can take some questions. I do want to highlight one thing you mentioned, Nate, is, it's a relationship business, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, you know, you can go hit up Nate or hit me up because I'm a private money lender as well on LinkedIn, and then you're probably not going to get anywhere. I highly recommend build relationships, right? Alt Asset Summit is an amazing place to go for that reason, as well as I'm sure there's a lot of local networking events in your communities. If you guys are out in our area, please come out, check us out. I'm raising money. We're always raising money. We have two specific projects locally here in the LA area that we're raising money for. If you'd like to learn more about it, please let me know. However, I'm not the right fit for everyone, and not every private money lender is the right fit for me. So there is enough for everybody. I do see on the chat, we do have a few other investors here, which is awesome. This is the reason why this community is for. They're also raising money as well. So connect, collaborate, come back again and again and again so you can build that trust. Don't think you're going to be able to get 100 or a few $100,000 off of somebody by just meeting them in one day, right? And another thing I want to highlight with my experience, and I'm hearing a lot of stories now of people really having a hard time with money that they've lent out to people that they don't know. They were just chasing a shiny object. Yes, the asset is very important. However, the most important thing is the freaking operator you're lending it to. You know,
Mhm.
you're investing in the operator. Yes, the asset is great. It's important to know what asset you're investing with, but make sure you know the operator and invest in the operator. Don't chase the percentage, the rate, or anything like that. Invest with the operator. So with that said, I have a question that got DM'd me yesterday. I want to ask you, but I do want to touch on a question from Josh. He's also a real estate investor. He's raising money as well. He's asking is if you guys have a list of real estate investors that you can share with clients, or is it some that from self-directed IRA, or does the account holder have to go achieve that themselves?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a private client convention. We have to keep our clients' information private, so we're not allowed to share our client information to people, or vice versa. So, how do we bridge the gap? It's through the event like the Alt Asset Summit. It's through our webinars where clients can come and also network with investors. Because even for my clients, if Alex had the best investment in the world, I'm not licensed to tell one of my clients that they should do a deal with Alex because now I'm selling an investment. Now I have to be licensed to do that. So when it's self-directed, we can't put A and B together, but we found that through education and networking events, that's how we get to both parties in the room. And I assure you, by coming to the Alt Asset Summit, you'll meet at least 300 of our clients. And most of our clients are passive with their money. They work 9 to 5 jobs. They don't want to do all the work, nor do they have the time to do all the work. They want to meet people, and like Alex said, it is a relationship business. They want to lend people money that they know and trust, and the only way they're going to know and trust you is if they meet you, right? I've seen it too, Alex, is people doing these finding deals on like Facebook and all these crazy social media places, and they've never met the person in real life. The three people that I loan money to, I knew probably for 5 to 6 years before I lent them any money, right? I had to get real comfortable with them and actually see that they were active investors and they weren't going anywhere. You probably know Alex, going to all the real estate events. You might see somebody raise the money and then you don't see him the next year, right? That's the guy that you don't want to lend money to. But I kind of looked at like certain people that were in the space. They had long track records. I felt more comfortable, and like you said, it was all about my trust in them, not so much the property. If I structure the deal right and close the title company, I'm still collateralized by the property, but it was more about how I felt about them than the property.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, Josh, so I recommend, that list is in the in that room. All Asset Summit, you'll probably
Yeah.
get a long list. You just have to put it together. And those of you that are raising money or looking to learn about being a private money lender, you don't have to do it with me, but I would love to connect with you. I'd love to connect with you, collaborate, see how we can help each other out. Because there's plenty out there for everyone, and I feel you have to find the right fit, whether it's from an investor or the money lender themselves. Any other questions? Yes, Judy wants the link to the Asset Summit. I'll send that to you, Judy, as well with Nate's. Oh, there we go. Nate sent it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another question that was sent to me yesterday via DM is a person that's currently employed. They have an active 401k plan. They have
Mhm.
money in the 401k plan. Can they roll that over, or when can they roll it over? Does it matter the vesting and so forth? Can you sh
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you have a 401k at a job that you're still at, oftentimes they make it hard to move that money while you're an active employee. So typically, when you leave the company and you have separation of service, you can roll that 401k or employer plan anywhere you want. They can't stop you from moving it once you're no longer an employee. But when you're an employee and a participant of the plan, they can really restrict you from moving it while you're still employed there. However, you could ask them and just see if you have what's called in-service rollover options. Just say, can I roll money out while I'm still in service with the company? And some plans give you that option if you meet certain criteria that they dictate in the plan. So it's not up to us, it's not even up to the IRS, it's up to your employer. And some of the check marks that you can meet to do an in-service rollover, from what I've seen, is you're either A, fully vested in the plan, or above a certain age. Sometimes it's 55, sometimes it's 59 and a half in the plan documents, or you've worked there for a certain amount of years. If you check those boxes, oftentimes the employer will let you move your employer contributions out. So you just got to ask them though. It's all going to be up to them. But if it's an old plan with an old company, you have no problem moving that into an IRA that you can self-direct.
Just a little resistance from Fidelity, that's all.
Yeah. They want to hold your money. I'm still
So
trying to get a
one,
401k from an old company I worked at. And it's like 4 years ago.
we got one more question from Josh. I think we'll end it there. Any other questions, throw it in. If we can't answer it today, we'll always get back to it. But Josh is asking, would it be a good idea to set up a self-directed IRA for my 6-year-old daughter's crypto that I'm holding in a cold wallet?
So if you're holding it already, you can't put personal assets into an IRA, but you can set up a crypto IRA for her, put cash in the crypto IRA, and have the crypto IRA buy some crypto. But what you already own personally, that has to stay as a personal investment. But I would say, yeah, I mean, what's stopping you? If you think crypto is going to the moon, why not set a crypto account up for your daughter and hold crypto in the Roth? Because Roths aren't taxed. And for those of you traders, by the way, I've seen some traders with those tax reports of all your trades like this thick. You don't have to report anything to the IRS when when your IRA owns crypto. There's so many benefits to owning a crypto, especially if you're waiting for it to go to the moon. Let it be tax free when it hits the moon. So yes, I would say yes, you should set up a crypto. And if you want to set one up for me too, I'll give you my social security number.
No, it's awesome. I mean, my 8-year-old, I know you met my daughter Nate at the last event, and since that event, she just always brings you up. She's like,
Yeah.
she wants to learn more. She's now more curious about the accounts because she heard that, she has her account, and now she's more
Yeah.
involved, asking questions. She has the 529, the Roth as well, and the goal is to combine them together and then they invest together. But it's awesome. So Josh, I would highly encourage you to just get them exposed to that. That's very, very exciting as a
Yeah.
father.
Yeah.
So very cool. Again, thank you guys so much for staying ahead. If you guys are thinking of going to the All Asset Summit, please reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you over there and, plan something. Maybe we can get lunch, dinner, or something like that. Again, thanks, Nate, for being here. Truly appreciate you. And I'm sure you'll be back again soon. You
All
guys
right.
have a great
Thanks,
day.
guys.
And
Have a good
until
rest of your
next time,
week.
bye bye.
Thanks.